David Frum made a name for himself as economic speechwriter for George W. Bush. He famously coined the phrase the axis of evil, and he worked in the heart of government during some of the most turbulent political times in Washington. After 6 non-fiction bestsellers, he's written his first novel, Patriots. The plot sounds potentially prophetic. America's first black president has just lost re-election and a new leader tries to pull the country out of recession but faces a revolt from within its own party. David Frum joins us now from our Washington studio. Thanks so much, David Frum, for being there.
Thank you.
Now, your book exposes a particularly ugly side of the US conservative movement. They lie and cheat to get the numbers. Did you specifically set out to alienate your former friends?
I didn't set out to alienate anybody. The book is a comedy, but it's trying to show you how things really work. One of the problems with nonfiction is you write what you can prove, whereas in a novel you write what you have seen and know. And the book tries to answer this question. How can a small number of people take control of a great political party? How exactly do you do it? Where would you have dinner? Who would you talk to? What maneuvers would you use? And why would you do it?
Has your old boss, George W. Bush, read the book?
I don't think so. The book's been out only for a very few weeks. This is a book that is set in the near future, and it's got some. And as you say, it has some resonance to how things are now, because it's set in America that is very much caught up in a dismal economic situation, but where the political class has really cut itself free from those worries. I mean, here in Washington, try to get a dinner reservation on a Thursday night. It's impossible. The characters in the book are living very lavish lives, although subject to our strange rules. My hero at one point goes to a reception, and everyone is eating lamb chops and stuffed quail, but they're all on toothpicks. There are no knives and forks. And it's explained to him that American ethics laws forbid lobbyists to serve dinner to candidates, to politicians. But dinner, of course, is something eaten with a knife and fork. So long as it's eaten with a toothpick, then it's okay, no matter what it is. That's not corrupting.
Now, a recent review of your book summed it up as a first-hand account of the fascinating primitives who occupy the feral extremes of the Republican Party. To what extent are those feral extremes of the party dominating the movement right now?
Well, I mean, very much so, and I think you can see a lot of the story of the book taking place as we speak. Mitt Romney comes from the technocratic, managerial, pragmatic part of the Republican Party. That's what he became famous for as a Republican governor. And he has been systematically boxed in, given a platform that he never previously believed in, given a running mate who's much more radical than he is, and caused to show a face of himself to the country that is not the man he is. And the way that has been done in real life was prefigured when I wrote that book a year ago. You do it through understandings among key party players, you use the power of the media, and you systematically take away a candidate's options.
But in doing so, you alienate voters.
Well, it depends how deep your recession is. And one of the things, I mean, I know these are not brilliant times for the Australian economy, but one of the ways that I think it's hard across the Pacific to appreciate just how grim things are here, and for most people. This is the deepest, longest, and in many ways most hopeless economic experience since the 1930s. People aren't going hungry exactly. I mean, they eat, but the sense of purpose. But if you're living on somebody else's couch and you're sort of scrounging for odd jobs, and you have no sense that there's going to be any future for you, and you're postponing marriage from year to year, you can't form a family, you can't get a house, your life can't start, that kind of dismal mood is one in which people say, let me try the alternative. And in American politics, there are only two. So if one's in power, you're going to try the other.
And the new leader in your book, who takes over from the country's first black president, is faced with the dilemma of how to fix a very deep economic slump. Now, given we're facing those similar challenges potentially going forward in the US today, it seems curious that Mitt Romney doesn't seem to have a particularly coherent approach to how he intends to fix the economy, given his views seem to be quite contradictory, his ambitions to cut taxes while at the same time reining in the deficit.
The president in my book tries to do the approach that is recommended by all the sort of moderate economists. He tries to have a short-term stimulus followed by long-term budget balancing, all of it very responsible, and his throat is ripped out by his own party, which wants a Romney-like approach. What the argument is that you can somehow blast your way back to prosperity by balancing the budget, by cutting government very deeply. But it's clear Romney keeps giving interviews where he makes clear he doesn't exactly believe in his party's orthodoxy. He gave an interview in which he was asked about his budget cuts, and the interviewer, who came from the more conservative side, said, well, if it's good to do this over 5 years, why don't you do it all in 1 year? To which Romney said, well, if you did budget cuts that big in 1 year, you'd plunge the economy back into recession. There are these moments where Romney keeps revealing the very brilliant mind that he has and the deep understanding of modern economics that he has, and then he is corralled again and pulled into the fortress where the party says the only medicine that works is tax cuts. The only thing we care about is reducing the size of government because our concern isn't economic, our concern is ideological. And that's the story. I try to make that vivid and real in the book, but you can also see it playing out in American politics. That it's like that Saturday Night Live sketch about more cowbell, that the answer to every question in the Republican Party seems to be more ideology.
Bob Dole, the last Republican to challenge a Democratic president just overnight, has urged Mitt Romney to confront the party's right wing. Isn't it a little late to start courting immigrants, for instance, after his performance in the primaries?
Well, the reason Republicans are so concerned right now, American politics is very much locked up into two huge blocks. That we have a very strong party system, unlike most other democracies. It's a census. 45% are committed one way, 46% the other way. So you're talking about a very small number of people in the middle. That group is younger and poorer and more female than the people who are more certain, more decided voters. And that's why the stories like these recent stories about abortion and these rape comments are so damaging, because they go exactly to the anxieties of those people. They're cultural anxieties which push them toward President Obama, but they're deep economic anxieties which also push them away from President Obama because he has not really delivered for them. And the key fact about the American economy is if you were doing well before 2008, you're doing well today. But if you were doing only moderately well before 2008, you were doing badly today.
But of course, that you can't escape the fact that when President Obama took over, the economy was already in pretty dire straits.
Yes, that's true. The question mark over President Obama's head is not, is this your fault? I don't think anybody's suggesting that the conditions of the economy are his fault. The question is, did you succeed in fixing it? It's like taking a broken car to the garage. If the mechanic doesn't fix it on time and on budget, you're not suggesting the mechanic broke the car, but you are going to try another garage.
But there also needs to be some kind of cogent plan on the other side as an alternative, which doesn't seem yet to exist.
Well, the Republicans do have a plan. It's not the plan that I would recommend. My argument, and that's sort of one of the messages of the book, is that you need the center-right party also to be concerned with the economic conditions of ordinary people. You can't just say you don't like the red button, now try the blue button. But in a two-party system, which is quite unusual in the democratic world, if one alternative has failed, people will press the other button, even if it also failed when they pressed that button the last time.
Now, polls have consistently shown that Americans don't like Barack Obama, but they dislike Mitt Romney more at this point.
Yeah.
Can the tide turn after next week's convention?
At the convention, what I hope would happen, but what I fear will not, is that Mitt Romney needs to offer at last a story where he can connect with the situation of most people in the country. And the difficulty that people have with him is not just that he's a very rich man, because Americans have had rich presidents before. Teddy Roosevelt was rich, Franklin Roosevelt was rich, John F. Kennedy was probably richer than even Mitt Romney. But those people have had some understanding of what it means for others, whether through Franklin Delano Roosevelt's illness or through some John Kennedy's war heroism. There's something where you break out of the bubble of being born with a lot of advantages to connect with the vast majority of humanity that is not born with so many advantages. Can Mitt Romney do that? That will be the challenge. people believe he's competent. People believe he will be a fine president. But do they believe he will care about them? That is the big weight hanging upon his campaign.
David Frum, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.